Okay, hello, welcome to this video. Sorry about the sound, I'll try and get it as best as I can. I'm recording most of it just from my phone microphone, just for ease of getting this done. So I'm just going to talk you through a little bit about how I actually now perform the song once I've split it all up and got it into my live set, which if you want to see how I do that, go and watch part 1 of this video. That explains all of that in quite a lot of detail. So for playing live, obviously I'm using Push quite a lot, Push 2. And a lot of the hardware as well. So if we just go through, so on these channels here, as I mentioned in the previous video, they're sending MIDI to the TR8. So there's the kick part, there's the hi-hat part. I'm also sending MIDI to the Minilogue, which will allow me to then change the sound as I'm playing live. So this does this. Okay, so if I need to change or if I want to, have a bit of movement in the sound during the set, it gives me the ability to do that. Doing the same thing with the TB3, we're sending MIDI out to the TB. So again, I can manipulate the sound while I'm playing live. Okay, so that's the sound that's in that song. So, I say, it gives it more of a live feel, more of a spontaneous feel, and I can take it in different directions if I want. Now for this track, I actually do some live drumming on the drum pads, which hopefully you can just see down here. Now obviously when I'm drumming, I haven't got hands free to launch the next scene. So what I do for that is I use one of these. Standard sort of keyboard pedal. I think it's meant as a sustain pedal, but it works for this. So I've got this going into the SPDS. That has a foot pedal input on it. I've then got this mapped to, it's got the MIDI mapping, the scene launch, which is this button down here. So all I have to do is when I start my set, I just make sure that I get the next scene that I want highlighted, and then as I press on this, it's going to launch the next scene. So for example, if this one's playing, and I'll show you this in a second, if this one's playing, all I got to do is press on that and it'll launch the next scene. So like this. Okay, so that means I can scroll down through my scenes, it automatically goes to the next scene, all hands free, so I can use my foot for that. So for those songs where I'm drumming on it, really, really useful for that. So again, if it's a good little tip, hopefully. All there is MIDI. I've just got a standard 5-pin MIDI cable coming out of there, and I think it's going into the MX1, just using that as an input. And then obviously make sure the routing's right within live. So let's just talk a little bit about how I would get then transition from one song to another. Obviously playing through the song's fairly straightforward. I can take it in different directions. Stop clips, start clips, off push. So let's say I'm going to go from this track Still, which is at 124 BPM, into Fading, okay, which is the next track, which is at 121. So I could just launch the scene and go straight in like this. and so on. That can sometimes be a little bit abrupt. That went a bit weird. For some reason, not all my stuff is playing. Let's check I've not got anything soloed. Is that one not playing? So I'm not going to leave all these mistakes and errors and stuff in. You know, I'm only human. I'm just trying to get this done as quick as I can, so you can see what I do. As means and outs. Don't know. For some reason, some of the tracks aren't playing. But anyway, so what I might want to do if I want to go more kind of like more of a DJ transition sort of route, while that end bit's playing. What I can do is start to drop some of the clips out. So let's say I want to take that bass out now. I can then start to bring in the other bits from the new track. Okay, which for some reason aren't working. I don't know why. But yeah, then you can start to bring those in, and then when you're ready, just launch the whole song, and you know, launch that scene, and we're straight in. Right, let me see why. That's why we've got track solo. Right. Okay, so let's just go back and do that again. I just realised I had my recording, the track I was recording on solo. What a numpty. But hey, you know, it happens. Right, so let's say we're going from the last track, which is called Still. Got everything playing. So we'll start to drop some bits out now. So let's get rid of the bass. Keys. We're just going to leave the pad playing. Get the tempo back where it should be. Okay, so then I probably want to drop those pads out. So now it's got a drum beat, so I can start to bring the next track in. So I can just scroll across, or I can do it on screen. So I'm going to start to bring in these percussion parts here. Okay, so that's the start of the new track coming in. I'll bring the one of the lead line parts in from the beginning bit now. Okay, so we're going from a track at 124 into a track at 121 BPM. So one option is it's not a massive difference. I could use the tempo, gradually slow it down. Or I can click on here when I want to get into the next track, and that's going to stop everything playing on this one, but not this one. So I'm going to just take the tempo down a little bit. Okay, so I'm at 123 now. I'm going to launch the rest of the new song, and then gradually take the tempo down to the correct speed. Okay, so we're now into the new song. So I'm just going to drop my tempo down a little bit more. Okay, I'm now at 121. You can hardly notice that change. And then I can start to perform this song. What I do on this one, on the Minilogue, is I play a live arpeggiator sound, which is on this next scene, starting now. going to stop those clips separately because I don't want to stop it recording for the audio. Okay, so that's how I can transition from one song to another. If I want, I could go straight in. So let's say the ending of this track. When that comes to the end of like a nice 8-bar cycle. And then I go straight into the new song. Okay, so that works with some, not with others. You know, sometimes it's a little bit abrupt. Let's just get those stopped. So yeah, that's kind of how I go from one song to another thing. Just one last bit is I've got a few samples as well on a drum rack because one of the tracks. So this is just basically, this has got no internal sounds for this. This is just MIDI notes. So I've got a tom and a hand clap, and then what I've got these, which I play for one of the songs. And then for another track I've got some vocal samples. Which are basically just mapped from they're not sounds from the Electribe. I'm just using that as a MIDI controller for that bit, for this first section. Okay, I hope that's of some use. I hope that makes some sense. It might be a little bit disjointed, a little bit confusing, but hopefully if you watch the other video and this, you'll get an idea of how you might want to do something. You might want to do it completely different to me or take some ideas from me. Like I said before, it is a work in progress, this new live set. It's the first time I've done it sort of this way. So we'll see. I may do, if I fine tune it even more, I may do another video in the future. But thanks for watching. If you've got any questions or comments, then you know what to do. Leave them in the comments below. Thanks a lot. See you on the next one.